Outside right in here.
Hello. 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 We start. We start. Please attend. I start. So now it's 2:40. I think I have 1.5 hours, right? So now it's 2:40. To finish by 4:10. Okay? So this is a slide demo workshop, and I'll be trying to cover as many cases of lymphoma, NHL in particular, over the whole spectrum. Okay, I know you are heavy from lunch, and but the cases probably will make you more sleepy. Will try to keep you awake, and to keep you awake, I believe it'll be better if it's an interactive session. But I know I don't have much time relatively because I brought many cases, but it'll be better if I get an interaction. So can the postgraduates in the audience raise their hands? Because my target audience is postgraduates and body pathologists. So this is a good chance for you to know, and come across as many cases of lymphoma are there. Because you might encounter this in your practice after you pass out, but if you don't know the entirety, you may miss out. Right? So I think you get my point. So can the postgraduates just raise their hands? I can see 2-3 ladies here. Yeah, those. And can you come forward? There's no point sitting in the back. I don't know if the vision is clear from the back. I don't have that idea. But at least you can come into front, so it's more interactive. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. This is just an interactive session. It's for you to enjoy. It's for the postgraduates to enjoy seeing the slides, seeing the morphologies which the previous speakers have already told you, including myself. So it's just to see the practical aspect of what I told you in the morning. Right? So yeah, great. And I want it to be an interactive session. Okay? It's a two-way session. So I need inputs from your side. And you can ask me, you can interrupt me anytime in between. Because once I finish the case, there is no point of questioning them. So it's better, and you don't feel hesitant in asking even a basic question. Please feel free to ask even the most basic question. Okay, don't think that it is a question someone would rile at, someone would laugh at, nothing like that. Nothing like that. It's for you to benefit. This is a very good chance, very good platform. Your HOD sir has arranged. So it's for you to take full advantage of this session. So you can ask even the most basic question. And please feel free to interact. Okay? Okay? Sure. Then Dr. Kinali will help me. So what Kinali will do, you keep on taking out these slides. Once I finish them, you put it in the box and you keep on taking out the next slides. Okay? So I think this slide belonging to this case. Right? Yeah. Huh? No, this should be the same. Right, okay. Can you just work here? Yeah. Right. T. Okay, fine. So I'll start with the first scenario. Okay, the first scenario. You keep on thinking of the slides. And as I told you, the light is too much. I decrease the light. Great. Okay, the illumination which here is dark, but still there is light on the slide. I need to. It's okay. Fine. So starting with the first scenario. Is it clear on the screen? If you let me know if it's clear on the screen. Fine, it's just me. You let me know when it's clear on the screen. It's clear on my microscope? Yeah, okay. Okay. But it gets blurred here. This is scanner. You don't have a 2x, right? Okay. Right. So, yeah. Now it's clear? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I have to focus on the screen because this gets blurred here. Anyway, so this is a node. Right? So one just thing I'd like to add here, just at the beginning. When you do lymph node histology, it's always better to have a 2x or 1x objective. That is one of the prerequisites of doing lymphoma HLEs, lymphoma diagnosis. Have a 1x or 2x in your normal microscopes like Levomir, Olympus, do not have the 1x, 2x. So at least there should be one microscope in the high-end microscope where you have 1x or 2x objective. Because that will sometimes be needed, not always maybe, sometimes needed when you get excision. Okay, so like now I'm looking at 4x. Maybe can we decrease the power? Is it zoomed in a bit? Is the screen zoomed in a bit? Because here I can see more area field than is visible there. There is a little zoomed in, I guess. Can we just wait? It's blurred here. Yeah, but I have the area I'm seeing under the microscope is more than the area that is visible on the screen. Anyways, okay, I'll just go on. So you see a node here, right? Right? And so what are these? PG students, what are these I told you in the morning? Germinal centers. So this is germinal centers. Okay, you have a mantle zone, you have a light, more dark and light kind of areas. It's not dark. So if it was not a germinal center, this whole area would have been dark. So it is not dark, it is pale. Right? So in lymph nodes cytohistology, we'll look at blue, less blue, pink. Blue, less blue, pink. So that gives you an idea what are you looking at. So this is blue, but this is less blue. Right? And the interfollicular area is again not that blue. Right? So this is nodules, and you can know this is secondary follicle, this is the germinal center. Had it been a primary follicle, this blue, same thing would have been here also. Would have looked the same like it is looking here. So this blue, same color would have been here. So this is not a primary follicle, this is a secondary follicle. In other words, this is a germinal center because it is a proper mantle zone. Okay, so first you need to identify this normal histology and then move around the node. So you're getting all these germinal centers and this is the cortex, the near the capsule. So you know it's a lymph node. How do you identify a lymph node? Sometimes you get resection specimens in PAP, you get lymphoid tissues. But remember, for it to be a lymph node, it has to have some other parts to call it a lymph node. It may not be a lymph node, it just could be lymphoid aggregates. For it to be a lymph node, it has to have a capsule, number one. Second is to have afferent and efferent lymphatics. So you find the afferent here, you find the efferent at the hilum. So you have to have the afferent lymphatics and you have to have a capsule. Then only you call it a node. If it's not there, you call it lymphoid aggregates. Okay? So this you find a lymphoid capsule, you have the cortex, and in this node, you can see that there is more of germinal centers concentrated in this area. And as you move inside, you see this area is devoid of germinal centers because this is the which area is this? This area is the medulla. So if you say if you do not know this normal histology and you suppose this is an excision node, suppose you do a core biopsy and you get this area, right? Core biopsy you get this area because core biopsy you get a limited sample. So if you get this core area, you will get what? You will not see the germinal centers. If you do not see the germinal centers, you think, oh, is this effaced? But it's not effaced. Because the needle has hit the medulla. So it will look like it is effaced, but actually it is not effaced. So you'll see, but medulla will compose most of T cells, you see plasma cells, your histocytes. From that, you can give an idea, probably looking at a medulla. Right? But in lymphoma, what happens is that all these areas, they are overrun by your neoplastic cells. So you do not find a normal things here. So just this, now, can you tell me what is the issue or what is the diagnosis in this node? This is a reactive node. What I'm showing you here first is, upfront is a normal reactive node. This is how a normal reactive node looks like. Right? Okay. Now, why am I showing this node? The reason I'm showing you this node
I'm not going into the histology in the, you can identify that, okay, right, you centrocytes and centroblasts, right, this is the mantle zone, this is the mantle zone, this is the mantle zone, and here you have the centrocytes and centroblasts, okay? So I'm not going into higher power here, because I'll need to move a little fast. Okay, now why I took up this thing, yeah, why I took up this thing is, I'll show you the immunophenotype in a normal mode. Okay, right. So this is your normal node, and now you guys tell me what is this marker which I am showing you. Now first you look or to identify which marker am I showing you. You see what's part of the cell is it staining. So can you make out? I think you still can make out in this, maybe not very clear, that it is staining the membrane. It's staining the membrane of the cell. So it's sparing the nucleus. So from this you can get an idea that it's a stain which stains the membrane of the cell. Number one, right? Okay, so that you got an idea. Now, then you go back to look over and you see which part of the cell lymph node has it stained. So where has it stained? Which stain has it taken up? What part has it stained? I showed you the normal. So it's stained the germinal centers. So you have a stain which is staining the germinal centers, and it's staining all the germinal centers and some cells in the internodular area as well, right? Right? And some small nodules as well. So large nodules, small nodules, everything, and it is a membranous marker. So most likely, what stain is it? Which population is mostly in the germinal centers? Which cells? B lymphocytes. So which marker probably this is? CD20. So this is the normal pattern of CD20 in a node. So you have to understand this normal pattern, okay, before you look at lymphoma. So this is a normal pattern how CD20 comes in a node. Okay? Next. Now this is another stain. For I'm telling you to give a go ahead. This is again staining the membrane. Okay? And now it is distributed like this. So it's a membranous marker and it is staining like this. So what do you think is the stain? It is, which cells is it staining? T lymphocyte. So which marker probably it is? CD3. So this is how CD3 normally looks in the node. Right? So it's sparing the germinal centers, it is sparing the mantle zone, and it is mainly predominated in the interfollicular areas. Right? So this is it's a CD3. Okay? Right. This is little faint staining marker, but it's again staining your nodules, mainly here the nodules. It is a membranous marker to give you a go ahead, and again it's staining the germinal centers, but the interfollicular, it is like CD20, but internodular cells which CD20 was taking up somewhat is less. It is mainly, this marker is mainly concentrated in the nodules, germinal centers. So which marker probably it is? And this is membranous marker. It's membranous marker staining the germinal centers. So which marker probably it is? No. It is concentrated in the germinal centers. It is a membranous marker. I told you there are 2-3 germinal center markers. It is CD10. So it's a membranous. All CD markers mostly are membranous markers. All CD markers where you have the CD word, it's all mostly membranous markers. Okay? So this is again a membranous marker. and is concentrated in the germinal centers. So this is CD10. BCL6 will be staining the same way. The only thing is that it will stain, it's a nuclear stain. So it will stain the germinal centers, but it will be a nuclear stain. Okay? It will be a nuclear stain. So, but it will be staining the same pattern as your CD10. The only difference is that it will be in the nucleus. Then, this is another node, different node, where you see the cells somewhat sparing your germinal centers. It's again a membranous marker, and it's sparing the germinal centers, and it's mostly concentrated in the internodular areas. So it's like CD3. So it is another T cell marker. Which marker? CD7. So CD3, CD7 will stay same way, like CD3 and CD7 are almost parallel to each other. Okay? CD3, CD2 and CD7 are parallel to each other. There is difference in staining of CD5, CD4 and CD8, but CD3 and CD2 and CD7, they are almost parallel to each other. This is CD7. Now, you tell me what this marker is. So we're staining the germinal centers. The screen is, the resolution of the screen is not clear. And it is a nuclear marker. We're staining the germinal centers, and it's mainly concentrated in the germinal centers. It's a nuclear stain, but I don't know if you can make out that it is taking up some cells in the internodular areas also. So internodular areas also, some cells are staining. Germinal centers are pretty heavy on this marker, and it's a nuclear marker. So which marker am I looking at?
BCL6.
No. I told you CD10, I already told you BCL6 will look like CD10. This is not BCL6. I told you internodular areas, I don't know whether it's clear or not. Because the internodular areas, some cells are also taking on. BCL6 will be negative here. BCL6 will be negative here. BCL6 is probably here, but this one is positive here also, is positive here also, is positive here also, but mainly concentrated here, and it's a nuclear marker. No, I think so rare markers, common marker. Ki67, so these are Ki67. So a Ki67 concentrated in the germinal centers. We told you the dynamic regions, and the internodular is the T lymphocytes. Also, some of the T lymphocytes will take up Ki67. But will be mainly concentrated in the germinal centers. So this is Ki67. Now you tell me, this is pretty clear. Yeah. This is the marker which I first will show you the type of staining. If it becomes clear here. Yeah. So this marker, if I don't know how much clearly you can make out. Yeah. So this marker, though it looks membranous, it's actually a perinuclear stain. It's a perinuclear stain. Okay. Now you look at what part of the lymph node has it stained. So you can make out that it is, what has it taken up? You tell me exactly, precisely what has it taken up. Here. Here, here, here. So it is sparing, predominantly sparing the germinal centers, right? Number one. Number two, some cells in the germinal centers still are taking up, very less but still taking up. Number three, mantle zone is positive for this marker. Number three. Number four, and it is diffusely positive in the internodular regions. And it is a perinuclear stain. So which marker am I looking at? The peaches. Sorry? CD? 30. 30 you say. What did you say? Be loud. I'll correct you if you're wrong. No issues about it. 30 you say? 30 doesn't come. 30 she said. Total years? 1, 3. 13 is a marker we don't use in ISC. 13 we use in flow cytometry. It is a marker from myeloid cells. Okay, do not expect 13 will be like this. Okay. Okay. So which is this marker? So I told you sparing the germinal centers predominantly, except a few cells taking up. It is predominantly present in the mantle zone as well as in your T lymphocytes. Right? So it is sparing the B lymphocytes. It is present mantle zone. What is mantle zone composed of? What is the lineage of mantle zone? B cells. It's not T cells, okay? It's not T cells, it is B cells. So mantle zone is B cells. So it is not a lineage marker. So you have to know whether it is a lineage marker or a site-specific marker. It is not a lineage marker because it is staining T cells, it is staining B cells. The only problem is it is sparing the germinal center. So this is? No. BCL2. So this is BCL2. So BCL2 will spare the germinal center in a reactive condition. Mantle zones will be positive and it will be positive in the T cell. So this concept you have to identify because many people use BCL2 as a routine but without understanding what impact we can have on your, especially on your core biopsies. When you have T cells also. So when you have T cells, you have a B cell lymphoma, low grade, and you have many T cells, and you put a BCL2, but BCL2 will come positive both in your low grade lymphoma cells, B cells, as well as your T cells. Now how do you interpret which cells are actually BCL2 positive? So there is a pitfall of using BCL2. So you have to be very judicious when you use BCL2. If it's a case of follicular lymphoma, just the reverse happens. So BCL2 will be full here and will be negative outside. Okay, so this is a marker which we can use sparingly for a diagnosis of follicular lymphoma. But remember, it will be positive in any stable cell. So any stable cell like low-grade lymphomas will also show you positivity for BCL2, not necessarily only follicular lymphomas. So this is BCL2 which comes as it comes in a normal mode. So I think I am done with showing one more marker is there. Look at this marker. Look at the staining pattern of this marker. See how it is. This is different from whatever you've seen till now. Right? So it is staining the cells in the germinal center, but look at the staining pattern. What staining pattern can you tell me this is? What is the difference from this staining pattern from the antibodies I showed you till now? What is different here? This is like a meshwork. This is like a meshwork. See, it's not a single cell, membranous which is taking up. It is like a meshwork in the germinal center. Right? So this is staining the follicular dendritic. I told you the dendritic cells which are the framework of this house. Right? So the dendritic cells also need to be stained by some marker, right? And that is 23, 21, and 35. So the dendritic meshwork is highlighted by your CD23. So this is CD23 which is marker of follicular dendritic cells. See. So it is highlighting all the germinal centers with this pattern. Right? So why the importance of this is, if you find any follicular meshwork like this in a node, right? That means that node is not showing a diffuse pattern. It is showing somewhat nodular pattern. And therein then lies the dilemma whether you call it DLBCL or call it a follicular lymphoma. So it helps in such scenarios. Apart from that, other scenarios also it helps, but mainly it helps to highlight whether you're looking at somewhat retained follicular dendritic cell meshwork. So I think I'm done with these normal histologies. Yeah, other but it's okay. Now I go to the first case. So this is the first case. It's a 78-year-old male with multiple bilateral cervical lymph nodes, mediastinal nodes. So generalized lymphadenopathy. PET-CT was done. It was 18.67, and there's no organomegaly. Right. The age is 78 years. So before seeing the slide, what do you think probably is the clinical differential diagnosis? 78-year male Generalized lymphadenopathy. Yeah, come on. Number one, SLL, very good. Very good. Number two, follicular, very good. Number three, mantle cell lymphoma, very good.
Diffuse large
Number so these very correctly. These are the four primary differential diagnoses you will consider even before seeing the slide. So when you have these in mind, it becomes easy for you to go about. So you know how SLL looks like, you know how a mantle looks like, you know how a follicular looks like, how you know how a DLBC looks like. So you go about then in your mind, it's like the tick box. So ये है तो ये टिक है, ये है तो ये टिक है, ये है ये टिक है. Okay. So now I tell you how I will go about. So you have these four differentials in mind. Then you start seeing the slides. One helpful clue you may sometimes get from looking at a PET CT. In PET CT, sometimes you can look at the SUV value. The SUV value has to be taken into context, not always dependent on, because it can sometimes become a silly, useless value also. So you have to know how to apply the SUV max value to your clinical context. This says it's 18.67, so it doesn't help me so much. SUV value, if it had been less than 5, say, less than 5, then probably you're looking at a low-grade lymphoma. In reactive conditions, the SUV max ranges from say 6, 7, you can go up to 15. So in that reactive condition, you have this non-neoplastic, you can have tuberculosis, all these, as well as some neoplastic, like say Hodgkin's lymphoma, nodular lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin's lymphoma, ALCL sometimes. So these can come in the range of 7 to 15 somewhat. If you have some SUVs more than 20, more than 25, then you know you're looking at a hybrid lymphoma. So this, context of SUV max also you can take into your clinical, in your diagnosis. Now this says 18.67, so 18.67 again can be low-grade, and low-grade lymphomas, mind you, can have sometimes high KI. So in a low-grade lymphoma with high KI, then the SUV max goes up. It can go up to even 20. So it's an 18.67. So you are not very certain. DLBCL little less likely because DLBCL will have usually SUV max of more than 20, but still okay, and probably a low-grade lymphoma may be okay. So then you look at the node. So what you see in the node. Now for this, what you do, you see excision, good, then you have an excision biopsy. It's always better to get an excision biopsy. Then you look at the periphery, the whole node, right? You look at the node. And now you need to find any pattern is there. So for the pattern, you decrease the illumination. Decrease the illumination. I think I have decreased the illumination maximum in my microscope, but I think the illumination is still there somewhat in your screen. Anyways, so the point here is, this was a diffuse. This was not very vaguely nodular, but it was not like the nodular pattern you see in follicular lymphoma. It was more of a sheeting, and it looks blue, right? This looks more of blue node. So when you get a blue node, usually the two diseases which, three diseases I would say, which usually encounter when you look at a blue node. Now in a 78-year-old. Number one, SLL. Number two, mantle cell lymphoma. Number three, follicular lymphoma grade 1. But follicular lymphoma grade 1 will have nodules. So if you are diffuse but dark blue, it is probably SLL or it is mantle cell lymphoma. So let's see only on scanner view. I have not even come further to higher view. Only on scanner view, taking in the appropriate clinical context, I have made two differential diagnoses. So easy. SLL and mantle cell lymphoma. It should not be anything else. Right? Now, for that you again confirm that okay, there is no nodule. I can see some grade nodules, but it's okay. So the follicular is probably out. Because follicular grade 1 will with this blue appearing will show proper nodules, which is not there. Okay, so it's probably SLL or mantle, right? And I told you in the morning how you differentiate on histology. Now you look at the cytology. You go about and look at the cytology of the cells. Remember, this section has to be a thin section. This was probably not as thick, it was somewhat thick. So we get a thin section is the best section for looking at the cytology. Right. Right. So now you describe me the nucleus. The nucleus looks round, agree? Oval, agree? Round oval. It doesn't have that crenated, spindle, irregular. Doesn't look like that. So it's more of roundish, oval, clump chromatin,
inconspicuous nucleoli scans cellulose. Agree? So with this histology, the most now important differential diagnosis left is small lymphocytic lymphoma. Right? You're almost practically ruled out. But MCL can still be, I told you, that KVN or MCL can still look at small lymphocytic, but most probably you're looking at a small lymphocytic lymphoma. Right? And then sometimes small lymphoma can have larger, can have areas where you can show larger cells that are called proliferation centers, where you can have pro-lymphocytes, you can have some like these cells. So you can have these cells in between, like this. So larger cell with conspicuous nucleoli, like these cells can be derived in SLL, which are known as pro-lymphocytes or C. This one. So it's all common. It's okay to find such cells in between the SLL cells. These are known as pro-lymphocytes, or you can have polyphenols. Now, sometimes these can aggregate, and these can aggregate and show you an area where you see lots of these cells. But you don't go by looking only at this cell. So you look at the whole node, what the whole node constitutes. Okay? Now what I'll do, so if I do not have ISC, I'll look at these features and probably I'll give two differential diagnoses. Low grade, non-Hodgkin's, low grade, small size, non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Probably two differential diagnoses, small lymphocytic lymphoma and Mantle lymphoma. You can also look at the peripheral blood of this picture, because the peripheral blood is showing increased total leukocyte count with absolute lymphocytosis. Probably you're looking at SLL. Okay? And you can give another differential that probably a mantle cell can also be needs to be ruled out. So what ISS will you do? First you go ahead and do your CD20. So CD20 is one marker which is the most reliable marker in lymphoma. Because once CD20 comes positive, half of your problems are solved. If CD20 comes negative, that is when your problems arise. So once CD20 comes positive, what I'm saying is your half of your problems are solved. And remember, CD20 usually comes very nice crisp marker. In SLL, it can come somewhat weak, so that is okay. Right? So in this marker is diffuse positive in this case. Diffusely positive for CD20. Then CD3. So CD3 will be very less. It's showing only some scattered lymphocytes in between. So, but remember, when you're looking at a B-cell lymphoma, doesn't mean you will not see T cells. So you have to have that concept in mind also. It's a relative proportion of B cells to T cells which you should be taking into consideration. The T cells is a diagonal because it's a B-cell lymphoma. ऐसा नहीं होता. T cells रहते हैं, right? So T cells रहेंगे, but you have to look कितना proportion है B cells to cells and the size of the cells which is taking up. So I can make out look out the size of the T, because small lymphocytes, the individual lymphoid cells or SLL will still be somewhat larger than the small lymphocytes, the normal small lymphocytes. So the very small normal lymphocyte will be your CD3 positive, they will be the T cells. So this is the population of CD3. So you see CD3 here, right? Next, what marker do you need? I showed you CD20 and CD3. Yes. Yeah. What marker do you need me now? Tell me. You tell me what marker you want to see for the precise diagnosis. What one marker? You have a resource limited setting. You cannot have 10 IST markers now. So in your resource limited setting, you have CD20, CD3, and you can give one marker which can clinch your diagnosis. Louder? One marker which will clinch your diagnosis. And I put that marker on. The positivity clinches the diagnosis. Negativity doesn't clinch the diagnosis. Okay? So this is that marker. It's clear on the screen? Is it clear on the screen or not? Because I can't make out whether it's clear on your screen. So this is a nuclear marker which I have put, so it is negative. It can be positive in the pro-lymphocytes which I showed you, but generally it is mostly negative in your cells. And it's a nuclear state. So this is cyclin D1. Now cyclin D1, if it's positive, diagnosis is mantle cell lymphoma. So for mantle cell lymphoma, you need only 3 markers. CD20, CD3, and cyclin D1. You don't need another panel. That's it. mantle cell lymphoma is diagnosed. However, if it is negative, then you need to put more markers so that you establish a diagnosis of cancer. So cyclin-D1 is negative. And remember, if my histologic diagnosis number 1 would have been mantle cell lymphoma, number 1, and then my disease is negative, and also other markers are not coming in line, then I may put up SOX 11. But not when my differential diagnosis is mantle cell lymphoma is not on the top of the list. Okay? So cyclin-D1 is negative, it should not be mantle cell. Now what marker do I need to put? I told you they will come in vague kind of nodules, not very sure because of this resolution must be whatever. So I need to look out whether the other can be maybe follicular. So I'll put CD10 next. So CD10 is negative. I put BCL6 also, BCL6 is negative. So I have ruled out mantle, I have ruled out follicular lymphoma. फिर क्या बचता है? क्या बचता है फिर? एक ही बचता है. Now you know by textbook 523 should be positive in your SLL. So this is 5 positive. So 5 is normally a T cell marker which is apparently expressed by B cells of some lymphomas, B cell lymphomas. So CD5 is positive. So whenever you see CD5, there is one important rule which you need to take into consideration. CD5 always has to be seen in comparison with your CD3. Because CD5 is normally expressed by T lymphocytes. So whenever you put CD5, उसके साथ CD3 भी लगाना important है. Is it clear? Yes. So when you put CD5, you need to have the CD3 also and then compare whether it's the B cells which are coming positive, this is CD3 and this is CD5. So this is CD5 is much more than your CD3. So it means CD5 is positive in your T lymphocytes, so I mean it is positive in your B lymphocytes also. So then you know CD5 is positive because CD5 will come positive in your T lymphocytes also. Right? So you have to establish the fact that your B lymphocytes also are positive for CD3. हमेशा इसलिए CD3 type को CD3 के साथ compare करना है. If someone is showing a slide, CD20 दिखा दिया, CD5 दिखा दिया, उसमें CD3 नहीं है. You cannot take a call whether this CD5 is actually positive in the B lymphocytes. You have to see either CD3 or CD7 to compare whether actually the CD5 is coming positive in your T lymphocytes or in the B lymphocytes. So this is CD5 positive. Any other marker you need, which the textbook says will come positive in SLL? Typical SLL comes positive. Which marker? This marker. So this is CD23. So apart from highlighting the follicular dendritic cell measures which I told you, CD23 also comes positive in mainly SLL. So SLL it comes positive in the tumor cells, which is an aberrant expression. So this is positive for CD23. Anything else you need to see? Done. I have established the diagnosis of SLL in this case just for showing you and to destroy the concept that this marker comes positive only in follicular lymphoma. I am showing you BCL2. This is BCL2. See how diffuse positive it is. It is staining each and every cell, B cell. So this destroys the concept that BCL2 is a marker for follicular lymphoma. This is not follicular lymphoma. CD10 is negative, doesn't show nodular pattern. 10 is negative, BCL6 is negative, BCL2 is positive, fine. But diagnosis is small lymphocytic. Now in low-grade lymphomas, just to complete your report, the people who do low lymphomas, they do one more marker in low-grade lymphomas, and that is Ki67. So in Ki67, normally low-grade lymphomas, SLL, follicular, mantle should have a low Ki, less than 10%. But sometimes you have a Ki which can be more than that. So that's why you need to report in your HPR how much is the Ki67. So this Ki67 was slightly, I think, it was around 15%, it was low 15 to 20%. Okay, so this completes the workup of a case of SLL. Understood? Any queries? You can ask me in between. another case. It's extensive again solid supra infradiaphragmatic in a 67-year-old male patient. How much time is already done?
Sir, 3:15.
I think I skip this. Interest time, I skip this. Next case, you show me 502621. So I showed you excision biopsies, okay? So that you are, I mean, it is great if you get excision biopsy. But now there is a trend now is not to do excision biopsy, and it's palpable. Mostly you'll get true cut biopsy. That is the order of the day. True cut biopsy because it is just a day procedure. Patient goes inside the minority, he takes a biopsy, patient goes out. If it's an excision, he has sometimes admit the patient. So there is call of this all the logistical issues because of which the trend is to do a core biopsies. So as a budding pathologist, we have to be oriented to looking at core biopsies, not excision biopsies which are actually described in your textbooks. Because if you extrapolate the findings of the description in your textbooks, which is actually on the excision biopsy, node biopsy, to what is you see in a true cut biopsy. So this is what you get in, this is a real world scenario. You get a true cut biopsy. So this is how you get true cut biopsies. Right? Yes. Okay. So it's a 39-year-old male. Yeah, 39-year-old male, low-grade metabolically active, multiple supra-infradiaphragmatic. SV max is 3. Okay, SV max is 3, 39-year-old male, both supra-infradiaphragmatic. Remember, tuberculosis is always a diagnosis when you deal with lymphomatous involvement. Okay, but I'm not talking of tuberculosis here. Sorry. But remember, TB is also always a diagnosis when you getting lymph nodes. Okay, so that always should be in your mind. This doesn't show anything related to TB. This shows core biopsies, which are. How do you now go about? How do you go about looking at this core biopsy? You know it's lymphoid tissue, right? It's blue, so you know it's lymphoid tissue, and they have told you that it's taken from a lymph node, right? So what do you see? How do you go about? How approach this case? So when you put under scanner, the first thing you look for whether there are nodules, whether there are secondary follicles, whether there are Jamiani centers. Because if there are a good number of Jamiani centers, then probably it is reactive. It's probably non-neoplastic. It's not neoplastic. The first thing you will look under low scanner is, do you see Jamiana centers? I do not see Jamiana centers here. So it is then probably effaced. Right? So you probably see an effaced node. Now, one more. Number 2, then you see whether this is blue looking or it's blue and pink or pink looking. So I am seeing more of blue. So if I am seeing more of blue, probably I am looking at a non-Hodgkin lymphoma. If it's blue and pink or pink, then probably you're looking at more likely a Hodgkin's, or maybe a T-cell lymphoma. If it's more of blue, then probably you're looking at B-cell lymphomas. Okay? So it's more of blue, probably you're looking at a B-cell lymphoma. Now 39-year male, something can be a person of 39 can suffer from any lymphoma. Right? Any lymphoma can come in at 39 years. So it's very dicey. So you cannot take a call only based on the age, like I took a call on the previous case. So you find that it is blue and probably blue, and then you do not see any nodules. Then you observe if you're not seeing secondary follicles, are you seeing any pattern? So you look for pattern. Same thing here in the core biopsy. So this is diffuse, but some are nodular I can see here. I can see nodules here, right? Here nodules, but mostly it is in sheets, and some vague nodules are there. Those nodules are just aggregates of the cells. Right? So it's a diffuse and nodular pattern. Right? Now I will concentrate my approach on the nodules to see if those nodules confirm with the diagnosis of follicular lymphoma. Right? You can make out? See this area. It is coming like this. Can you observe this fine detail? Can you observe? Right. So that means it's a nodule. It is not, the whole node is not in sheeting. So here is a nodule, and you can see here, see another. So appreciate. Can I appreciate or not? If you can appreciate, then I will go forward. There is no point. You can appreciate. Okay, so this is a nodule. This is a nodule. And such nodules you find in other areas also. So this has some diffuse, but it has this nodular part also. So when you get a nodular part, Number one you consider? Number one you consider? What lymphoma you consider number one? You can be 4 random answers. Nodular pattern, what will you consider? Number one. Follicular lymphoma, nodular follicular. It should come just like back of your mind. एकदम रात को 2 बजे उठा के मैं पूछूंगा नोड्यूलर पैटर्न कौन सा लिखूंगा follicular. Right? It should be like this: nodular follicular, nodular follicular, nodular follicular. So nodular follicular, but this is all blue looking, right? So which follicular will you think of? Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3? Grade 1. Grade 1 will be blue looking because it is composed of centrocytes. As the gray goes to grade 3, the blueness disappears. It becomes blue, pink, pale, like this. So blue, nodular, probably follicular grade 1. So follicular grade 3 blueness disappears. So follicular grade 3 का actual differential diagnosis हम push पढ़ते हैं ना कि differential diagnosis of follicular lymphoma is reactive lymphoid hyperplasia, reactive nodular hyperplasia. Not exactly true actually. So when you start seeing lymphomas, you realize differential diagnosis of reactive follicular hyperplasia is not follicular grade 1, it is follicular grade 3. Follicular grade 3 is actually a differential diagnosis of reactive lymphoid hyperplasia, or in other vice versa. Differential diagnosis follicular grade 3 is reactive nodular hyperplasia, follicular hyperplasia. It's not follicular grade 1. So this you will not confuse with a Jamaya center. Right? This can be actually, this can be follicular grade 1, but you will not confuse this with reactive lymphoid hyperplasia. This is just a B cell nodule. Right? So the differential diagnosis in this will be number 1 follicular lymphoma, second which one? I showed you in the morning PPT that only follicular doesn't come with a nodule. There are other low grade lymphomas which can show you nodule. Number 2, mantle cell lymphoma. Number 3, small lymphocytic lymphoma. So still these 3 are in. So now you know that this is that. Now you go ahead inside and see the histology and see it is small cells, right? So it's small cells. It's not medium to large cells. So it is not DLBCL. तुम्हारा release है ना clinical diagnosis. I told you 39-year-old male, DLB, all this will come. So it's not DLBCL. Number 1, it's not medium and large cells. So सब बाहर हो गए. This is small cell lymphoma. So you have the differential only a small cell lymphoma. क्या बचे फिर? Follicular, mantle, SLL. देखो पूरे lymphoma का जो I showed you the classification in the morning, so vast classification. You have just excluded everything. Only 3 are left. So it's so easy. Just you need to apply your histologic acumen. Okay? So this is small lymphoma in a nodular pattern. Now इतना यही है पूरा आगे भी वैसा ही है पीछे भी वैसा ही है. So it's diffuse somewhat nodular. You can see vessels. If you see vessels in a node, one thing it indicates. If you see vessels like this in a node, the node biopsy indicates one thing, that is not a high-grade lymphoma. If you see vessels, it means one thing. It cannot be a high-grade lymphoma because a high-grade lymphoma just overruns everything else. उसको अपने से इतनी चाहत है, उसको दूसरे की कुछ परवाह नहीं होती है. So normal lymphoma जो बाकी जो चीजें रहती है ना, वो carry नहीं करता. It just overruns everything else that is known. So if you see vessels, you know it cannot be a high-grade lymphoma. इसका KI अभी 30-40% भी आ जाए अगर, I will not call this a DLBCL. It is a low-grade lymphoma. Okay? Because KI can vary. KI के basis पे high-grade, low-grade नहीं बनता है. Keep in mind, budding pathologist. KI 67 index के basis पे low-grade, high-grade नहीं बनता है. Or for that matter, no neoplasm can be told to be high-grade or low-grade based on KI. It's just the proliferation index. It cannot determine what is the grade of the tumor based on KI 67 index. Not just lymphoma, any malignancy. So this is your histology. Then first marker which should be applied. क्या marker पहला लगाओगे? Which marker will you apply first? Panel में, you know it's a lymphoma, right? You did not prove that it is all lymphoid cells. So there is no point of putting LCA. Don't use LCA in such conditions. Absolutely not. So what will you put now? क्या लगाओगे? First marker? CD20, obviously. The first marker will be CD20. Always, when you know it's a lymphoma, the first marker you put is CD20. Unless until you think it could be plastic. Plastic can be CD20 negative, I told you. So you put another marker 70, 90 or PXL. Otherwise you put CD20. So CD20 is diffuse. Agree? Diffuse? Okay. Then you put next marker which you put. You put CD3. So CD3 will be positive in some cases. Now you tell me CD20 is positive. What marker will you put next? What marker will you put next in your differential diagnosis, based on your differential diagnosis? What? BCL6 or CD10. So CD10 is more strong evidence, is a stronger evidence of Jamiana Center than BCL6. So more reliable CD10 than BCL6. Okay. So CD10, because I showed you the Hans algorithm. If CD10 positive, it is DCB type. If CD10 negative, BCL6 positive or MUM1 positive, it can still be ABC type. That is, I'm not talking about local lymphoma, just give a corollary to the Hans algorithm. So this is CD10. CD10 is negative. CD10 is a membranous marker, it is negative. So now we know what we will put. I'll just show you one thing, looking at the histology, which probably I didn't show that time. Here, you also see how are the cytology based on the cytology of the cells. Right? So now you see, it is proteins, it is proteins. Right? Now see, try to observe closely how do the cells look like, nucleus look like. The first case I showed you was small round nuclei. Right? Do you agree with me if I say that all these cells do not look like small round? Will you agree with me? Yes. So how these look like? Elongated, ovoid, somewhat short, spindle kind of, right? So these nuclei usually do not appear in SLP. So this is not SLP for my experience. So probably these will be then mantle, number one, or follicular. But follicular you need more indented. It's not indented, it is just irregular and spindle kind of. So when you see such histology on 40X, probably you're looking at mantle cells, even if it is nodular pattern. Right? So see how much histology clues I have derived just for looking at H and E. Right? And then you put CD10 which is negative, you put a BCL6 negative, and next marker what will you put? We have put BCL6 which is negative. BCL2, someone said BCL2? Someone said BCL2? Did someone say BCL2? Yes. Now, why will you put BCL2? There's a question. You will put BCL2 only you have a doubt of? No, you will put BCL2 only you have a doubt of? Come again. You put BCL2, okay, BCL2 accepted, but why will you put? There has to be a reason when you put any marker. When you put any immunohistochemical marker, there has to be a reason why you are putting that marker, and you have to derive an answer कि ये positive आएगा तो मैं क्या बोलूँगा, ये negative आएगा तो ये. This question should come to you before you start putting IC marker. कि ये marker मैंने लगा तो लिया, अभी आएगा तो मैं क्या बोलूँगा, नहीं आया तो मैं क्या बोलूँगा. And is it actually going to help in my diagnosis? That is the question you should always keep in mind before you start putting even a single marker. Because Taka में तो चलो patient pay नहीं करता, बाकी सिर्फ patient will pay ना. Why unnecessarily asking the patient to pay when there is no need of putting a marker? So you have to be very cautious and judicious in your use of ICs. Now BCL2, why do you need BCL2? You tell me. Follicular. Okay, so I have told you BCL2 doesn't make a diagnosis of follicular lymphoma. These are Jamiana Center markers CD10 and BCL6 which makes a diagnosis of follicular lymphoma, not BCL2. Because BCL2 can come positive in all low-grade lymphomas, whether it's SLL, whether it's follicular, whether it's marginal, whether it's mantles. It can positive in all the low-grade lymphomas. So usse follicular diagnosis nahi banega. Now if you tell me I want to differentiate from reactive follicular hyperplasia, क्योंकि reactive में negative आएगा, low-grade lymphomas में positive आएगा. उसके कारण मैं BCL2 लगाना चाहती हूँ. Right? That may be a possible explanation. But then you tell me, if it had been a reactive condition, will your CD20 come as diffuse as has come? No. The answer is no. So just by looking at CD20, you have answered that question. That it is not reactive. It is a lymphoma. So when you already answered the question for which you were putting BCL2, then what's the need of putting BCL2? Got my point? Then there is no need of putting BCL2. So that's why do not put BCL2 unless the question you are seeking is actually wanted. So there is no point of putting BCL2 here. What will you put? If you diagnose lymphoma, B cell lymphoma you have diagnosed. Itna mein you have diagnosed it as a low grade B cell lymphoma. Now for precise diagnosis, what we do go for? CD10 is negative, BCL6 is negative. What marker will you put? What marker will you put? And this is diffuse strong positivity. This is diffuse strong positivity. And this is nuclear stain. So this is cycling. Absolutely. So diagnosis is management. Okay, diagnosis. I only put CD20, CD3, CD10, BCL6, 21, 5 markers. And you have arrived a precise diagnosis even on the core maps. It is mantle cell lymphoma, even though 39-year-old, it is a mantle cell. Got an understanding? Okay. Next, I'll skip this and you will go to. Okay. In the meantime, you take out the other course. This is this one. This is a 51-year-old male. It's a oropharyngeal mass lesion. Okay, oropharyngeal mass lesion. As the biopsy has been done from the oropharynx. So basically, it was a nodal mass in the oropharynx, I guess. And again, you deal with core biopsies. Right. So this is 4x. You go to 4x, you see the core biopsy, and again you see that there's some kind of diffuse sheets, blue looking, somewhat nodularity, or more of sheeting. Right? Agree? So no germinal centers, it's neoplastic, it's not reactive, sure, there's no germinal centers, effacement, blue looking cells. Right? You do not see macrophages, pituitary macrophages, so it's not hyperproliferative. You go inside, you see that there is no, okay, again size, small cells, right? Small cells, blue looking, then you see the cells. Small cells, this is 40. This one. Right. Yeah. So small, oval, then here again, somewhat spinning. Right. So when you start seeing these cells, your differential diagnosis is again, number one is what is it? Told you just. CD20 was diffuse. Okay, so I am not showing you CD20. CD20 was diffuse, and this is diffuse. This is also diffuse. This is not CD20. What marker? What stain? What is the staining pattern of the marker? Nuclear. Nuclear. And it has taken up nodular as well as diffuse areas. So this is again your cycling beam. So diagnosis is? Mantle cell. Next. This is the excision node, and this is a 50-year-old, again metabolically supra-infradiaphragmatic, SV max is 16.1, and this is the excision biopsy. And for this, now see, for this kind of node, the excision biopsy, you need the 2 exosomes. Okay, so still you can see on the scanner view that how is the pattern. So What is the pattern here? What is the pattern here? Louder. Nodular. This is effacement. We agree with the effacement. No Jamiat centers. Right? No Jamiat centers. It is effaced. And you see this nodular pattern. Right? Nodular pattern. And they are kind of pale blue. So what is the probability differential diagnosis? Follicular. Okay. Then you go inside. You see the cells. Small, mostly small cells, somewhat large cells, medium-sized cells you may find, but mostly it's small cells. And they're, what you find on medium also, yeah. See, you're finding medium-sized cells, somewhat opened up chromatic. It is not the typical centrocyte look. It has more of centroblast than centrocytes. So that's why, because it's more of centroblast, so on low power you can make out that it's more of, it's not that dark blue. It is pale. It is pale. So it's not, it's probably your follicular, but probably it's grade 3. So we put CD20. CD20 is diffuse. CD20 is diffuse. Then what's the next marker you put? What's the next marker you put? The differential diagnosis number 1 is follicular. What marker will you put? Again BCL. That's why that is the imprint the textbooks leave on plus. There is an imprint. It will not go away in 1 hour. I have to keep reminding you and keeping, putting in your brain that BCL2 is not for follicular lymphoma, BCL2 is not for follicular lymphoma, BCL2 is not for follicular lymphoma. Then only it will go away. Because वो BCL2 ना imprint हो गया ना हमारे दिमाग में. हर जगह follicular lymphoma BCL2, follicular lymphoma BCL2, follicular lymphoma BCL2. तो उसको हटाने में टाइम लगेगा. आज से शुरुआत करो कि BCL2 is not for diagnosis of follicular lymphoma. आज से शुरुआत कर दो. BCL2 is not for diagnosis of follicular lymphoma. ऐसा नहीं है BCL2 के against मेरा कुछ है. But it's just that the correct use of BCL2 happens to be in the appropriate clinical context. Okay? So this is not BCL2. I do not put BCL2 in for diagnosis of any lymphoma for that matter. Right? So BCL2 is nahi. So what is this? It's not coming. Resolution issue. Yeah, someone say the right answer here. It's not coming that great. कहीं कहीं आया था. Anyways, I'll go to a marker which probably is more up. Right. Yeah. So it's highlighting the nodular area, if you can see, and it's highlighting this. Yeah, it's a nuclear stain. It is highlighting the nodules and it is spilling over to the interfollicular nodules also. So what marker is it? This is BCL6. CD10 was I think was negative or patchy positivity in this lymphoma, in this follicular lymphoma. So you take the help of the BCL6 to prove that it is dominant centrology. So either कोई भी आने से हो जाएगा. See, usually follicular lymphomas are CD10 positive. It's very rare to get follicular lymphomas which are CD10 negative. But if your CD10 is negative, put a BCL6. BCL6 area serves the same purpose. And remember, follicular lymphomas as the grade increases to 1 to 3, CD10 positively आने का chance भी थोड़ा कम होना शुरू होता है. So CD10 follicular grade 1 almost always will be CD10 positive. Follicular grade 3 can be CD10 negative. So that doesn't mean it is not follicular lymphoma. You put a BCL6, it will come positive. In fact, there are many reports, I mean it is established in WHO that there are CD10 negative, BCL6 negative follicular lymphomas also to be had because it is follicular and nothing else is matching, so that can also be there. So this is BCL6 and it is follicular lymphoma. This was the criteria. Yeah. It's going to be another database. this is another case which I am showing. इसका name is 50161 to in 332 and 374. 832 and 374. So this is a 31-year male. Now this patient has abdominal pain and distension, PET shown periportal pancreatic paracaval mesenteric nodes, and there is multiple intra-abdominal nodes, mesenteric nodes, and because of this nodal presentation, he had intestinal obstruction. So उसके कारण में exploratory laparotomy was done. So you have the exploratory laparotomy in a 31-year-old male patient. Right. So you can see the glands. Right? Can you see the glands? Right? Probably small intestine. Right? Agreed? Okay. So you have the small intestine here, you have the glands, and this part now shows loss of glandular architecture. This is effacement of the architecture of the colonic mucosa by cells which are diffuse here. Right? Diffuse. And then you go to higher part, there is no nodular arrangement, there is just diffuse. And then the next thing you see whether what the cell size is. What is the cell size is? The cell size is? Cell size is? Small. The cell size is small. You have some vessels. You have some vessels. You have small. It's less cellular. You see more of clearing. Clearing in between. Then from this side, you can go higher power. Small, some medium-sized cells. Yeah. So apart from these cells, which look like lymphoid cells, right? Agree? These are all lymphoid cells. Can you see some cells which are here? These cells. Here, this one. Some other cells. This nucleus. See, how does the nucleus look like? How does this nucleus look like? Indented. Yeah. So how does it look like? Reniform nucleus. In which white blood cell you find a reniform nucleus? Monocytes. So this is a monocytoid cell, right? So it's like a monocytoid. And apart from this, can you see cells? This one. How does it look like? Moderate amount of cytoplasm, eccentric nuclei. There are more cells like this. Yeah, here. Yes. So what cells are these? Plasma cells. So you have plasma cells, you have lymphocytes, and you have some of the lymphocytes which have a monocytoid-like nucleus. These are all observations on H&E. Plus, this is do you see mitosis, bridge mitosis? Do you see? No, there is no bridge mitosis. So it's a low-grade lymphoma. It's a low-grade lymphoma, and how do you know it's not? It's a high-grade lymphoma, low-grade lymphoma. The cells are small to medium size, and there is no mitosis. There is no bridge mitosis. There is no necrosis. It's eroding. It's obliterating the architecture. There is no necrosis. Having a high-grade lymphoma is just over. Right? You will not see any glands. There's still glands there. So it's not that it's giving space to the glands. So it's it's a low-grade lymphoma. There's no bridge mitosis. There's no necrosis. So it's a low-grade lymphoma involving the intestine, having atypical lymphoid cells which are monocytoid nuclear appearance, along with plasma cells. What am I looking at? And it's in the intestine. So what is the most probable differential diagnosis? What's the most probable differential diagnosis? So it's arising from mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. So it's your marginal zone. That's it. That fits. The only other thing you need to prove now is put a CD20. Just put a CD20.
and CD20 is diffuse. See, this is CD20. So CD20 is diffuse and strong. Because that's it. This is a marginal zone lymphoma. If CD20 was negative, then we should have, must have walked, we could have, need to walk up the case. So CD20 is positive, you can still make it diagnosis. How much time do I have?
Sir, 20 minutes.
Okay. Now, this is, next is a 70-year female. A32 is 70-year female, left axillary mass, that she shows multiple axillary masses. It has supraclavicular trochanteric nodes, so it has nodes both above and below the diaphragm. Why do you need to know whether it's above and below the diaphragm? Nodes I've been saying, supra infradiaphragmatic. Why do you need to know that in lymphoma? Because staging. So in lymphomas we use Ann Arbor staging. So Ann Arbor staging is stage 1, 2, 3, 4. So in stage 1, single group of bone. Stage 2, multiple group, one side of the diaphragm. Stage 3, multiple groups, both sides of the diaphragm. Stage 4, bone marrow lymphoma. So that's how we do Ann Arbor staging of lymphomas. So that's why I'm repeatedly saying supra and infradiaphragmatic. Supra and infradiaphragmatic. Okay? So this has both supra and infradiaphragmatic. You will have 70-year-old supra and infradiaphragmatic. SUV max is 21.91. So there is an SUV max of 21.91. And then you start seeing them. So what will be your clinical differential diagnosis? What will be your clinical differential diagnosis? This is all in sheets. What will be your clinical differential diagnosis? Number one differential diagnosis? Yeah, mostly in sheets. Then you have T cells, medium sized. Okay. So you have medium-sized cells, you conspicuous nucleoli, right? So what is the most likely diagnosis? No pattern, only in sheets. So most likely diagnosis here is C. The rubrics mitosis, your centroblast-like cells, sheeting, numerous mitosis you'll find here. I don't know if it's clear. So this is a typical morphology of DLBC. Okay. I'm not going to further here. I'll show you a different case. The next is for 374. Yes, this is.
you have this is a 77-year-old male. He has an enhancing lesion in the right inguinal cortical region, the multiple enlarged nodes, and big mass, 10 centimeters, maximum damage. And you have extensive necrosis, so you know that it is a high grade something, right? You see extensive necrosis, it's blue appearing, and then it's no nodular, nothing, it's sheeting, and then you observe the cells. Yeah, so you tell me how the cells look like. Yeah, clear? Medium size to large size, prominent nucleoli, scant cerebellum, rich mitosis, extensive necrosis. You can see the mitosis there? It's clear. There's mitosis, there's dark mitosis. Numerous mitosis is there. So this is DLBC. In the meantime, I'll show you. 0 to 2. I think everyone will be happy seeing this slide. This one slide which you have read the time, from the time you have been exposed to pencils, to the second year class. With a core biopsy, you faced no germinal centers, right? This is a 11-year-old female, left thigh mass, big mass, SUV max 10.5, nose also there, and LDH here is 2183. So before seeing the slide, what is the diagnosis? Thigh mass, 11-year-old female, big mass, nose also somewhat near the thigh. There's a regional leaf enormity is there. Don't go by the XUV as such. LDH is 2183. In thousands, LDH. So LDH, I told you in the morning, is a biochemistry marker which helps you to get an idea about the lymphoma. If it's very high, probably looking at a high-grade lymphoma. So you can use it for correlation. Okay? So what probably you're looking at here, you get thigh mass, 11-year-old, what will be your differential diagnosis, clinical, before seeing the slide? Yeah, Burkitt. So number one will be Burkitt. And what do you see in Burkitt? I knew, that's why I told you, you love seeing these slides. Looks like somewhat. The muscles are in between because of thigh mass, and these are the tangible body macrophages. These are tangible body macrophages. Right? So Burkitt is more commonly extranodal than nodal. So in children, external mass, high grade, LDH high, probably Burkitt. First think of Burkitt, then anything else. So you can study sky appearance, lot of tangible body macrophages, but remember, this is not pathognomonic for Burkitt. The reason I am showing this slide is, this is Burkitt, yeah, I agree. But the study sky appearance is not pathognomonic, I agree. Study sky appearance means a lot of tangible body macrophages. Tangible body macrophages वहाँ पे होंगे जहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा proliferation हो रहा है. बहुत ज़्यादा proliferation हो रहा है का मतलब है बहुत सारे waste निकल रहे हैं. आपके घर में बहुत ज़्यादा खाना अगर बन रहा है, आपका waste भी निकल रहा है. तो उन waste को ले जाने के लिए उतने ही scavengers चाहिए. तो जितना आपका खाना बनेगा, उतना ज़्यादा waste निकलेगा, उतने ज़्यादा ही scavengers आएंगे. तो if you get lots of tangible body macrophages, just means there's a high grade lymphoma. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is Burkitt. Got the point? Understood? A concept clear already. Now, next time you see study scan, don't jump that there, it's Burkitt. If I ask you, if you're seeing a study scan appearance, what does it mean? Answer should not be Burkitt. Your answer should be high-grade lymphoma. That is the answer you should be precise in answering. High-grade lymphoma. So it's a high-grade lymphoma, number one. Number two, now I told you in the morning, how it is a medium-sized population. So what do you look for next? What do you look for next? If it's a medium-sized population, you will look for whether there is monomorphic or they are pleomorphic. If it's monomorphic, two entities. Burkitt, lymphoblastic lymphoma, both are high grade. Pleomorphic, DLBCL. Right? So that is how we approach. So this is a monomorphic looking population. The cells are pretty much same to each other. Though they are high grade, though they are medium size, but there is not much pleomorphism. They are relatively monomorphic. So my differential diagnosis number here, either Burkitt or lymphoblastic. I consider Burkitt more because Burkitt is more extranodal than nodal. Lymphoblastic is more nodal than extranodal. See the clinical context. So that's why I consider age group दोनों में हो सकता है. But here I consider Burkitt more. Right? So then what markers will I put? First I need to prove it's B cell. Right. So first marker I will put CD20. So CD20 is diffuse, strong, right? So prove हो गया, it's B cell. Then next one will put. Next one will put. So two differentials mainly, right? So what will you put next? So that you need to know Burkitt का cell of origin क्या है. Lymphomas का cell of origin के हिसाब से वो markers दिखाता है. Burkitt का cell of origin germinal center. तो germinal center से primarily दो lymphomas निकलते हैं. दिमाग में डाल लो. Germinal center से primarily दो lymphomas निकलते हैं. एक high grade है, एक low grade है. High grade Burkitt है, low grade follicular lymphoma है. Germinal center से दो मार्कर्स, दो lymphomas निकलते हैं. एक high grade, एक low grade. High grade Burkitt, low grade follicular lymphoma. तो germinal center से मार्कर क्या हुए? CD10 and BCL6. तो मैं इसमें क्या लगाऊंगा अभी? I'll put CD10 और BCL6. So this is your CD10. Diffuse, positive. CD10 is diffuse and strong. Remember, CD10, diffuse strong, Burkitt में ही आता है. Diffuse, strong, moderate to strong, follicular में आता है. तो सबसे ज्यादा CD10 strong, Burkitt दिखाता है. CD10 negative Burkitt almost है ही नहीं. It's very rare. है, but almost very rare to find CD10 negative Burkitt. So CD10 is very strong in Burkitt lymphoma. CD10 GCV टाइप में भी आता है, DLBCL, but इतना strong usually नहीं होता है. So CD10 is positive, BCL6 also positive. और कुछ लगाना है? और कुछ लगाना है? ना बहुत सारे लोग इसमें KI67 बोलेंगे, agree? कि हम लोग पढ़ते आए हैं KI67 100%, तो ये नहीं है, तो ये पढ़ते आए हैं ना? पढ़ा है ना? सबने? मैंने भी पढ़ा है, but नहीं. You do not need KI67 for यहाँ पे ना आज मैं कुछ ऐसे गेम चेंजिंग रूल्स बता रहा हूँ ना, तुम्हारे कॉन्सेप्ट और इन्फॉर्म को हिला रहा है, पर वो जरूरी है हिलाना, तभी तुम राइट जगह पहुंचोगे. तो KI67 is not needed for a diagnosis of Burkitt. इतना हाई ग्रेड है, वो एचएन में समझ में आ गया, राइट? CD20 पॉजिटिव है, B से हाई ग्रेड लिम्फोमा बन गया, 10 पॉजिटिव है, जर्मिनल सेंटर ऑर्जिन में क्या होता है? जर्मिनल सेंटर से दो ही निकलते हैं प्राइमरीली, DLBCL निकलता है, DLBCL भी निकलता है, पर प्राइमरीली ये दो निकलते हैं. DLBCL GCV टाइप भी है, मैं मानता हूं, पर ये दो निकलते हैं. Burkitt हो गया. नाउ BCL6 पॉजिटिव है, मोनोमॉर्फिक है, प्लियोमॉर्फिक नहीं है. अगर प्लियोमॉर्फिक होता है, अगर ये प्लियोमॉर्फिक होता, सेम होता, प्लियोमॉर्फिक होता, BCL होते पॉजिटिव, CD10 पॉजिटिव होता, then it will be DLBCL germinal center type. क्योंकि ये मोनोमॉर्फिक है, प्लियोमॉर्फिक नहीं है, that's why it becomes Burkitt. राइट? नाउ अभी मेरे को एक डायग्नोसिस था ना जो एक्सक्लूड करना था. क्या था वो? दूसरा क्या था जो एक्सक्लूड करना था? ये आप लोगों को लग रहा है क्या कि पॉजिटिव आया है? लग रहा है ना? ब्राउन वन दिख रहा है? अभी कमाल देखो, सीधा मैजिक. This marker is actually a nuclear marker. This marker is actually a nuclear marker. पहले लग रहा था लो पावर में कि पॉजिटिव आया है. अभी मैं 40x में जब जाकर दिखा रहा हूं आपको, तो ट्यूमर सेल्स आर नेगेटिव. टेम्पररी वेव भी जो है वो सब लिया है. ट्यूमर सेल्स आर नेगेटिव. तो ये मार्कर जो है ना थोड़ा नॉन स्पेसिफिक दिखाता है. But for it to be called positive, it has to be TRIPS nuclear positivity in the tumor cells. So this tumor is negative for this marker. And this is your TDT. टर्मिनल deoxynucleotide transferase. TDT अगर इसमें आ जाता, it had been lymphoblastic lymphoma in spite of CD10 positivity. Because this marker will take them precedence over CD10. Right? So TDT is negative, definitely it is not a lymphoblastic lymphoma. So now you have conclusively proved that it is Burkitt lymphoma. In addition, you can put a marker called c-MYC. c-MYC usually Burkitt lymphoma में more than 80% होता है, but जो diagnosis मैंने बताया based on the other markers है more than c-MYC. But c-MYC इसमें लगाया था, तो c-MYC is very strong positive. So now you know that it is Burkitt. So this is c-MYC. c-MYC is diffuse nuclear positivity. So your diagnosis of Burkitt is established beyond any doubt. Now it's very important to make a diagnosis of Burkitt. I told you in the morning. Why? Because number one, it is one of the most aggressive lymphomas we'll ever find. Number one. Number two, if chemotherapy is started at the right time, it responds in the most dramatic way. So, a बच्चा आ रहा है तुम्हारे पास, and the Burkitt presentation is usually extramodal. So, एक बच्चा आया तुम्हारे पास, 11 साल का बच्चा, इंट्राएब्डोमिनल मास है, या थाई मास है, या जॉ मास, and बहुत बुरी हालत में आया है, very sick, right? Now, that's why importance of diagnosing Burkitt. तुमने Burkitt diagnose किया और सही से किया, गायब हो जाएंगे सब कुछ. With appropriate chemotherapy, everything will be गायब, you will be fine in some time. So that's how Burkitt responds. It पिघल जाता है tumor. So that's why the importance of you people knowing how to diagnose Burkitt. Because remember, that person, that child can be anyone known to you. That child can be anyone known to you. So you cannot err in the diagnosis. अगर तुमने Burkitt को DLBCL बोल दिया, it will not respond that well. If you is to tell it lymphoblastic, उसका management अलग है. So you have to be very sure when you are diagnosing Burkitt. So how you diagnose Burkitt? Mostly extranodal sites. You get a study sky appearance that denotes that it's a high-grade lymphoma, blue appearing. Then you put CD20, diffuse strong positivity. You put CD10, diffuse strong positivity, monomorphic appearance, not pleomorphic, and then you put TDT, which is negative. You put c-MYC, it is more than 80% positive. So you have diagnosed Burkitt lymphoma. Right? Okay. So this is a 76-year-old male. The patient has a history which I read out because it's an interesting history. Cough since 3 months. Sputum positive for MTB. Started ATT. PET-CT shows multiple patchy areas of fibroconsolidation with ground glass haziness and bronchitic changes in right upper lobe of lung. Multiple retroperitoneal and inguinal lymph nodes. See how I'm emphasizing. Largest measuring 3 into 3. Osteolytic lesion also in the maxilla, left shaft of the femur, soft tissue lesion in the left frontal bone. Now with this history in a 76-year-old male, what is the number one clinical differential diagnosis? And you're getting a supraclavicular lymph biopsy. So what is your number one clinical differential diagnosis? Yeah. Should I read it out? 76-year-old male, this is inguinal lymph node biopsy, okay. Cough, MTB, sputum positive, fibroconsolidation, lung में patchiness है, multiple retroperitoneal nodes, inguinal nodes, osteolytic lesion. So these things indicate the probability of a lung carcinoma, probably a metastatic lung carcinoma. But what is the point? What's the catch here? Which is probably not a lung carcinoma. Lung carcinomas usually do not come with inguinal nodes. It will come with diaphragm के ऊपर regional lymphadenopathy, supraclavicular lymphadenopathy. These are the nodes which are usually involved in lung carcinoma. Right? They usually doesn't come in inguinal nodes. This is come with inguinal node, but it is again showing you blue. But then the blue, and it's no nodular pattern as such. It is in sheets, right? It is in sheets. But if I go to this area, maybe this area, probably. It is in sheets, but you can see the spaces in between, right? So it sheets जब होता है ना पूरा sheeting हो जाता है. यहाँ पे पूरा sheeting नहीं है. See, there is something going on here, you know, and can you make out? There is some kind of arrangement here, like it is cohesive cells trying to form some kind of pattern, some kind of Asina pattern, somewhat is trying to form. I go to higher power. Yeah, see. So it's not in sheeting. Can you see? Cells are medium to large size, obviously, right? Very pleomorphic. But see, there is not sheeting. It is trying to form some pattern as such. Agree? Agree or not? Sheeting मतलब sheets हो जाते हैं. इसमें उस sheet type का sheeting नहीं है. थोड़ा pattern kind of trying to form some pattern वाला idea है. Pattern recognition is very important when you deal with malignancies. Okay? So ये पूरा sheeting वाला pattern नहीं है. कुछ उस areas है. So this now, I told you now, when you look at lymphomas pitfalls we have. So lymphoma can be sometimes looking like carcinoma. So this is one which is looking like somewhat like a carcinoma in that setting of a lung carcinoma, probably query. So SRI, but it's very pleomorphic, numerous mitosis, bizarre cells at times. So you have a DD of here, whether it's lymphoma or whether it's a carcinoma. So here you can put a PAN-CK. PAN-CK was the first marker which was put, thinking is it a lung carcinoma? PAN-CK was negative. PAN-CK is negative. So in spite of that pattern, PAN-CK is negative, and what is positive is this brown, and it is membranes. This is LC. So it's a lymphoma with some kind of trying to form a pattern, but it's a lymphoma. You know now what you know. You know it's a lymphoma, proved beyond doubt. Second, it is pleomorphic. Third, medium to large cells, right? So what is your diagnosis? DLBCL. So the diagnosis here is DLBCL. अभी DLBCL को once you have proved the CD20 positive ये है CD20. So this is CD20. Diffuse, CD20. Now what you need to do? You have made a diagnosis of DLBCL. आगे क्या करना है? क्या करोगे आगे? You use 3 markers. CD10, BCL6, MUM1. CD10, BCL6, MUM1. CD10 positive, this is CD10 negative. If CD10 positive, GCM. Here in this case, both BCL6 and MUM1 was positive. So which type then? Which type then? कौन सा type हुआ? It's ABC type. Now in DLBCLs, the current concept, this is just to give you a current concept in DLBCL. So in DLBCLs now it is almost, not mandated, but it is advised to go for double hit status, whether it is expressing double hit status or not. So double hit status, you see two things in double hit to prove. You see rearrangement of BCL2 and rearrangement of CMYC. Rearrangement of BCL2, rearrangement of CMYC. If through both, there is a double hit status, there is a double hit lymphoma. Why need to know that? Because these have a poor prognosis than a typical DLBCL. So we can take the help of ISCs just to give you an idea whether it is BCL, now see this is BCL2. BCL2 normally will come negative in high-grade lymphomas. Because I told you now, BCL2 is for low-grade lymphoma. Right? But BCL2 is made ahead. So BCL2 comes in high-grade lymphomas. BRI. So this is BCL2 positivity. Very nuclear. And it is also your CMYC positivity. See, I told you CMYC comes positive in Burkitt, but CMYC comes positive in double hit lymphomas or double expressor lymphomas also. So this is showing you CMYC IFC positivity. Then in this instance scenarios, you advise, this called as double expressor lymphoma. It's not double hit. And you advise fish for rearrangements of BCL2 and CMYC. So Neeraj, am I done? Do you have time? done, almost done. Then I'll wind up here because I have more cases, but I think I'll take up time, so it's better I think. So I had some. I just give you a 2-minute brief overview. What cases I had cases of T lymphoblastic lymphoma. I told you how to diagnose. You use TDT. Then I had one case, cases of plasmablastic lymphoma. Can you just show me the plasmablastic? I actually got it. 582. नहीं निकाला छोड़ो. नहीं निकाला. So this was a rectal tissue which we encountered. Rectal tissue. Extensive necrosis. And then you find these cells here. Yeah. So we have extensive necrosis and this is anorectal tissue. This was an asymmetrical polypoidal mass involving the anorectum region extending in the upper rectum, deposits in bladder mass, bladder neck, multiple deposits along the bladder neck and right side of prostate, few of them infiltrating the wall and conglomerated with the primary. Anyway, so it's basically a rectal mass and we received this anorectal tissue which was very necrotic, but it showed these viable cells and there's all sheeting of cells and it's blue looking, right? Agree, blue looking? Agree with me, it's blue looking, right? It's probably non-Hodgkin's. Because anyways, on external side you find non-Hodgkin's only. So blue looking and then you find, what is this? You find lot of what? Again, so can you appreciate? Yeah. So can you appreciate? What do you think these are? These. I'm not going to tumors first. I'm going to these. What do you think these are? What structure are these? What structure is this? What is this? Mitosis. What is this? Yeah, someone say it louder. Apoptotic bodies. So you get these apoptotic bodies along with bridge mitosis. It just indicates it's again a very high proliferating tumor. Hyper proliferating tumor. You get bridge mitosis and you're getting lots of apoptotic bodies. So it is a bridge mitosis, high-grade lymphoma. What is different about this lymphoma? Can you tell me? Can anyone tell me by the observation what is different about this lymphoma? It's a high-grade lymphoma. Cohesive, somewhat cohesive, very right. Anything else? If I don't know if other people have understood this cohesiveness. See, it's not in sheeting, somewhat cohesive. You know, cells trying to, somewhat they have not yet lost their cohesiveness. Still there are some aggregates here, like the cells. These are aggregates. Very high grade aggregates. Anything else? Anything else? I don't know if it's clear here. Yeah. Anything else? Background. The cells are looking round to oval, agreed? Very high grade, prominent nuclei, disposed vesicular chromatin, right? What is else here? Look at the background. Cells के बीच में background को observe करो. कुछ अलग है? यहाँ पे कुछ अलग है? This is amphophilia. This is what is amphophilia. See this. You have to be very careful while observing this. It's amphophilia. So it's not, this is somewhat different in this lymphoma from other lymphomas that we showed you. There's amphophilic cytoplasm. And because there's something in the stroma, this is giving this look. क्या वो है? Immunoglobulins produce हो रहे हैं. और produce होने के कारण the stroma becomes amphophilic. So this is a plasmablastic lymphoma. Diagnosed only on H&E observations. I'm saying that you can lead to diagnosis based on H&E only. That's my focus. So these subtle clues will help you. Now remember, this probably is a plasmablastic lymphoma. Plasma lymphoma again is very common in extranodal sites. Now, if I just show you one thing, which is the caveat here, right? The caveat here is yeah. So this is your this is your LCA. So what do you think the tumor cells are? The tumor cells are negative. So this is a LCA negative, okay. Then next marker what do you put? This 20, this 20. Because I put in a panel, so just to show you. This is 20. So 20 is negative. So you have a LCA negative, CD20 negative, my residents and my ex-residents will not answer this question. So what do you think, my colleagues? So what do you think this marker is? Diffuse, strong, positive. So what do you think this is? Yeah, ladies there. What do you think this is? Diffuse, strong, positive. I'll wind up with this case. What do you think this marker is? This is MUM1. So you have, it is proved now that it is a terminate, it is arising, lymphoma arising from the terminate differentiated or plasma cell part. So this is a plasmablastic lymphoma, only MUM1 positive, 130 will also be positive. LCA negative, CD20. So this is an example of LCA negative, CD20 negative B cell lymphoma, which is a plasmablastic. This is the idea of showing this case. So you get this kind of morphology, you should not think of LCA negative or lymphoma negative. With this morphology, it can still be a high-grade lymphoma with plasmablastic morphology, possibly with PUM1 positive. Now you know it's a plasmablastic lymphoma. Correct? Okay. Just show me this one. Yeah. So same thing will be plasmacytoma, but it will be very low grade. You have ALCS. One lymphoma you should never forget is the ALCL. So ALCL is a marker which I told you can mimic any malignancy. The diagnosis of ALCL is by pleomorphism of the cells on H&E, and you find CD30 diffuse strong positivity. That is how you pick up, because again ALCL is one LCA negative lymphoma. LCA negative, it can be negative for pain. It will be negative for pain obviously because it's a T cell lymphoma, but in 75% it is negative for CD3 as well. It's only picked up by CD30. Then you have ENKT cells. ENKT cells you suspect when you have a nasal mass, you find enzio destruction and enzio infiltration. And last but not the least, when your CD20 is negative, CD3 is negative, LCA is positive, and MUM is also negative, and it's not very high grade, it's medium-sized population. Never forget myeloid sarcomas. Never forget myeloid sarcomas, and the two markers important when you pick up myeloid sarcomas. Number one is MPO, second is CKIT. Never forget CKIT. I struggle in the case of diagnosing myeloid sarcoma. It is a very rare condition, but I struggle because I did not put CKIT right up front. I put all markers, LCA, variable positivity. I was not sure whether to call it an hematolytic void. CD20, negative. CD17A, negative. CD3, negative. CD7, negative. CD30, negative. MPO, negative. You name it. Everything negative. But I forgot to put CKIT. The moment I put CKIT, it was diffuse strong positivity. So never forget to put MPO and CKIT if you think it could be a myeloid sarcoma. At least your panel of hematolymphoid, if your LCS positive and not able to delineate which lymphoma, you should put CD20, CD17 and A. If CD20 is negative, there are many CD20 negative lymphomas. So you should always put another B cell marker. So CD20, CD7 and A. Then you go about CD3, CD7, two T cell markers, right? These are negative, then you go for CD30 because ALCLs usually are negative for everything else CD30, right? CD30 is negative, then think of myeloid origin, MPO, CKIT. If these are negative, maybe in such case as I showed you, MAM1 positive. So these 8-9 markers should be in a hematolymphoid panel if you're dealing with something which is LCA positive, but you're not able to determine the lineage of the hematolymph. Okay? Hope I have been of help to you in diagnosing this lymphoma of hematolymphoid. And I know it's complex, but hopefully my soft clues and hard clues will be able to help you reach a diagnosis. Thank you so much. I can answer any questions you have. You can ask me. In the meantime, while I hand over, you can ask any questions you have. Even I told you the most basic questions also.
Thank you, sir, for an excellent and illuminating lifestyle session. We are deeply thankful, sir, for your valuable contribution to today's academic program. We now request Dr. Garima Dwivedi ma'am to felicitate Dr. Zakaria, sir. We once again thank sir for his highly engaging lifestyle session. Moving on, we now welcome Dr. Neeraj Dhamecha sir for the second live slide session. We welcome you, sir.
And been enlightening talk by Dr. Zakaria. And sir, we are deeply grateful to you for teaching us wonderful class. So, मतलब मैं अभी नहीं चाहता था सर के बाद में present करूं. It was such an excellent talk. And yes, even being a faculty, I was मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा मुझे इससे knowledge मिली and I am grateful. Such a wonderful talk. So I will be presenting only 2 or 3 cases, and I am grateful to Dr. Deepa. She is my colleague. These slides have been provided to me by Dr. Deepa. So we will be presenting 2 or 3 cases. this is the first case. It's a peripheral blood smear and bone slide. 17-year-old male patient who presented with pancytopenia. So here we can see the peripheral blood. Whenever we receive information with a pancytopenia in a young male patient, we have certain differentiation. This pancytopenia may be because of aplastic anemia or maybe patient is having some infiltrative disorder. And GBP plays a very important role because we can identify cause. So when GBP was evaluated, it showed atypical cells. These cells, they have high NC ratio, opened up chromatin and escaped the cytoplasm. Another very important feature, sometimes we may see features of dysplasia. So nowadays to diagnose as AML myelodysplasia related, we should have either the cytogenetics or a genetic profile of the patient, but we can identify dysplastic changes, and this is a pseudopulmonary cell with bilobe nuclei, neutrophil. Then again we can see one atypical cell with very high NC ratio. There is some nuclear convolution. Another cell. These cells. Some leukoerythroblastic line. This patient, since the diagnosis was pancytopenia, on slide we can see the platelets are markedly reduced. What we are seeing, low TLC with some atypical cells with a blastoid morphology, some dysplastic features in the form of pseudopulmonary cells and severe thrombocytopenia. So, based on this, we suspected that okay, this is a case of leukemia. Now, in all cases of pancytopenia, bone marrow is must. To confirm the diagnosis, to take material for immunophenotyping and for cytogenetic and molecular studies. This is a bone marrow sphere. So this is particulate and we can see this is hypercellular. Megakaryocytes are markedly reduced.